Samson was headed to Timnah, and the Bible says on his way to Timnah, Samson stopped at the vineyard. Remember, Samson was never supposed to eat grapes, touch grapes, or drink wine. So why would Samson go to the vineyard when he cannot consume anything in the vineyard? And that's what many of us are doing. We're anointed, we're strong, we're great and wonderful like Samson, but we keep tiptoeing to something that God said we ought not be consuming, because Samson never was allowed to eat grapes, eat raisins, or drink wine, but he finds himself in the vineyard. Now, the Bible doesn't say that he ate a grape or ate a raisin or even drunk the wine, but understand this, young folks, that oftentimes when you're playing in temptation, it will open you up to vulnerabilities. Let me say that again. When you play with temptation, it opens you up to vulnerabilities. Samson was in the vineyard in his temptation. He never consumed the temptation, but a lion came running down the mountain and he killed the lion. But this is what ended up happening with Samson's life. Even though he was in temptation and was not falling to temptation, he opened up his body to vulnerabilities, because remember, he was never supposed to touch anything that was dead. And the Bible says he kills a lion with his bare hands, which means he broke one of the rules that he was never supposed to do. Let me share this with you, young folks. When you open up the front door, remember that gives room for God to allow the enemy to creep in through the back door. And so, young folks, when you're playing around in your temptation, you're opening up the front door, but when you open up the front door, the devil is creeping in the back door to try to destroy your life. And so the lion he tried to kill died, but the Bible says he opened himself up for vulnerabilities, because 2 days later he came back again to that dead lion and he saw some bees who made honey and put his hand in the honey. He wrapped up the honey and then took it to his mother and father and gave them the honey. Now Samson is a tricky dude, because Samson was in a place he shouldn't have been in, and he touched something he should not have touched. Let me share this, young folks. Understand that when you touch something you should not touch, understand it has long-lasting effects, because the Bible says after he killed the lion, he goes back to the lion. Let me ask you all this. Why would he go back to something that was already dead? And there are many of you all in here who keep going back to dead relationships, keep going back to dead friendships, keep going back to dead situations when God had already given you the victory over it. The problem was Samson went back to a dead situation because Samson wanted the honey. And there's some of you all in here, you keep going back to old relationships because you're still trying to get some old honey when God is saying, I got something greater than the honey that's in your past. Stop going back to dead relationships and dead friendships and understand greater is he that's within me than he that's in the world. And I ain't come to broken just to get my freak on. I ain't come to broken just to get my drink on. I ain't come to broken just to sip something, just to hit something, but I came to break every stronghold and every chain that's concealment and bound me in bondage. The problem with this generation, Reverend Russ, is many of you are like Samson. Many of you are strong, great, anointed, and